What's going on, everybody? Rideshare guy here. And today I've got a reader question from Christina who posted on my Facebook page, and she asks, what should I do about an Uber passenger destination that makes me feel unsafe? Now, when I saw this, I thought to myself, man, this is a pretty tough question. And I usually like to give myself a little bit easier questions here on the YouTube channel when I'm answering stuff from readers. But this one, I started thinking about it. I said to myself, man, there isn't really a right or wrong answer for this question. So I wanted to put it out there, get some feedback from the community, and also tell you guys what I think about this type of situation, because it's definitely a sticky situation. And I mean, basically the situation that Christina describes is one where, hey, she's driving in a certain area or whatever, she gets a pickup request and they want to be dropped off in a part of town that makes her feel uncomfortable. And that's kind of what it boils down to. So, whether it's being unsafe or whatever it is. And obviously there's, in every city across the country and across the world, really, there's always parts of town that make you feel unsafe, that are just frankly, not as desirable as other places, as other parts of town. So the first things first is, if you ever feel unsafe, or you ever feel that your security is at risk or anything like that, you always have the right to end the ride. Now, if you're going to end the ride, you just have to be smart about it, right? If you are worried that this passenger is about to attack you, you probably shouldn't end the ride in a dark alley where no one's around, right? That's kind of common sense, but these are just things to consider. I mean, if you are really feeling unsafe, go to somewhere that's public, go to somewhere where there's a ton of people around, exit the vehicle and then ask them to leave or whatever you're going to do. So there's lots of things like that you want to consider. I mean, for me, I really think a dash cam is super important for drivers, because not only will it record these types of situations, and we all are probably familiar with Taco Bell Uber guy by now and kind of how that whole situation played out, but it also acts as a deterrent, right? If you have passengers that are making you feel unsafe, or even if you're going places that are maybe making you feel a little unsafe, then if you have something like a dash cam that's recording dual video, and audio, stuff like that, it really can work in multiple ways. We actually recently reviewed a bunch of dash cams on the YouTube channel, on the blog, so we'll leave a link below. You guys can check out some dash cams for rideshare drivers and let us know what you think. But, back to this situation at hand with Christina, the biggest problem I see is that if you continually deny rides headed to a certain area, that could really just become a huge discrimination issue, right? I mean, frankly, when you think about it, right, obviously you do have the right to deny certain requests, but if it's kind of, you start getting into that gray area of, hey, if you might actually be denying because of it's a safety issue, but how does some objective observer know that you just don't want to drop this type of person off in this area or this neighborhood, right? It starts getting into kind of like all of these, I guess, like civil liability type issues. So, I mean, looking at it though, let's figure out what's the solution. So if this is happening to you, or you guys know someone where this is happening, for me, the first thing that I would say is, maybe there's times of the day, where you can drive that feels safer. Obviously, places get scary at night. I mean, even, in cities across the US and the world, right, there's certain areas that get a little shady at night, and you probably wouldn't want to be walking, right? You probably wouldn't want to be with your girlfriend or your wife, or your grandmother out in certain parts of town at night. So maybe the solution right there is that you should drive during the day when you might feel safer, right? Even if you're dropping off in areas that are less desirable, hey, at least it's light out, you can see everything that's going on. And, I don't know the statistics, but I'm assuming less crimes happen during the day. Maybe someone can look that up and tell me in the comments if I'm right or wrong. So the other thing you can do, which I don't think is the best idea, but you could ask every passenger where they're going. And that seems like a big logistical challenge. If you called them and asked them, hey, where are you headed? And if the area is somewhere you don't like, then you don't take them. And obviously you would get into trouble with Uber, because, Uber's not going to want you only delivering or only dropping off passengers to certain areas. So I'm not sure that's a great solution. And ultimately, I don't know if this is a solution, but I think that dropping people off in these areas is a part of the job, right? I mean, if you're going to go and do this job, I don't think you can have this job with the mentality that you're only going to go drive in certain areas and you're not going to drop people off that live in certain areas. Now, it's more than okay to target certain areas. It's more than okay to go position yourself in an area where you think you're going to get longer rides, or that's more affluent, or whatever it is. If you think that's going to help your bottom line, But that's, on the pickup side of things. That's where you're, without a passenger and you're driving around, you're going to go position yourself somewhere smart. That's being smart. Once you start denying riders based off their destination, though, you're really no better than a taxi. I mean, that's happened to me back in the day when I was taking rides as a passenger in a taxi here and there. They would ask you, hey, where are you going? If it's not far enough or if it's not to the right location, they're not going to take you. And so I think you definitely want to avoid that. And I think that's what made people hate taxis so much in the first place. So I think that you really want to avoid that type of experience. So I emailed Uber. I asked them, hey, if I can't, I kind of described the situation. If I'm unsafe, if I'm driving, I feel, can I cancel the ride if the destination makes me feel unsafe? Not if I do feel unsafe. I asked them specifically, like, hey, can I cancel a ride preemptively, basically, if the destination makes me feel unsafe? And I had a pretty good feeling what their response would be. And as you guys can maybe imagine, maybe not, they told me something to the effect of, hey, thanks for the question, right? They said specifically, it's never a good idea to to cancel a trip because of the rider's destination makes you feel unsafe, uncomfortable. Let me read it verbatim so I don't screw it up. They said, I completely understand the concern here, but ending a trip for this reason could come off as discriminatory to the rider, and we definitely would hate for you to receive feedback on this basis of discrimination, and I hope this clears up, blah, blah, blah. So, basically what they're saying is that, no, you can't do this. You can't deny a passenger a ride to a certain area of town. Now, I think if I would have phrased it in a different way, like, hey, this passenger is making me feel unsafe, it's a safety issue, they would say something different. But when you phrase it that way, can I, basically not do drop-offs in this certain area of town? It basically brings up all these huge legal issues and discriminatory issues that I think that that's one of the reasons why Uber has become so popular, because it doesn't discriminate. And, there's obviously times where you may feel unsafe, and I think I've given you guys some ways to handle it. Honestly, I think this could end up being, if drivers are out there doing this, I think it could actually be more of an issue for Uber than the drivers. I'm not sure. But, like I said, I think what you want to keep in mind is, first and foremost, your safety is the utmost priority. Do what's best for yourself. Do what's best for your safety. And then when you start coming up on issues like this, think about, kind of what the impacts are for Uber and kind of the passenger and the driver community as a whole. So this was a tough question. Hopefully I did a good job answering it. If you guys have something to chime in, I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. If not, definitely like this video, subscribe to the channel, and come back soon. So I look forward to hearing from you guys. All right, take care.